You're watching Heavy TV and I'm here with Frank Iero. Frank, how's it going?
Doing really good.
That's good. How's the tour been so far?
It's been fantastic. Let's see. I've done more flying in the past week than I think I've ever done in a week's long time. I think I did the math a little bit, and it was like something like 10 or 11 flights in 8 days or 7 days, and that's crazy. I don't like to fly, but the shows have been so good that it makes it so worthwhile. The kids that come to shows are just they're so open and excited for music, and what's been fun is it almost feels like they're politer than I thought they would be. Is that weird? They almost hang on every word. They want to know what you have to say. Like, they're very intently listening, and they as excited as they are when you're playing. When you stop playing, they kind of get more subdued, and it's real quiet, which is almost reminiscent of Japan for me. It's kind of strange, but I think it's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now that you've kind of reached this point in your career where you're doing the solo thing, and also you're a father, do you feel like you relate to them differently?
To the kids at shows?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I guess so. I think of things differently. When you have kids, that cliche that everything changes it's cliche. People say it all the time because it's true. Everything is different. I was having this conversation with my manager Paula today on the flight, and we were talking about taking risks and doing things that you before wouldn't think twice about. I'll go skydiving. Yeah, I'll take a bunch of mushrooms and go out in the desert and watch a concert. Now you think about these things and you're like, there's no way I would never do that. Because you know why I wouldn't do it? Because my son would then have to explain to me oh, why don't you have a father? Oh, because he thought it'd be really fun to go out in the desert and take all these mushrooms. Or oh, he got into a fight with a guy over a parking spot and now I don't have a father. I think about that shit and there's no way. So I'm a lot more boring now, but that's fine. And I worry about kids more than I did. I used to think head blocking was really funny. I wouldn't do it, but when other people would do it, I'd be like, oh, that's hilarious. Now I'm like, their necks, their poor necks. Yeah, I definitely. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, I'm still here. It's fine.
No, it's also kind of fun too. When you, I like to stay after shows and meet as many people as possible, and the stories of other people's lives and how the music relates to or affects them and how it relates to their lives is really interesting to me, and I think I can see things from a different light now because of where I am in my life, and it's funny, the things that I was really concerned about when I was a young kid, I've found out what's really truly important, and that's it just comes with age, and it comes with experience. So yeah, I can see things a little bit differently now, and I do relate to people a little bit differently.
Yeah. I remember last year you kicked a fan out of a show. I don't know if they were necessarily a fan, and I don't know if it's bad for me to bring this up. Because they weren't being safe. I think they got a bit aggressive or something.
Right.
Do you feel kind of responsible making sure that your shows are a safe space for the kids that come to them?
Yeah. Here's the thing is, I was a young person, going to shows, and I was at a lot of shows that I didn't feel welcomed at, and I know what that felt like. I know, I remember, seeing people intentionally hurting each other, and, for the sake of being a tough guy or whatever, and it never made sense to me, and then I found punk rock, and I found certain shows where I did feel a sense of community, and I felt people taking the young people under their wing and kind of showing them the ropes and letting them be themselves, and how nurturing that was, and how much more beneficial that was to a scene than this feeling of elitism or this feeling of danger. What is that? really it's essentially it's like it's terrorism. Like having someone come in and making them feel unsafe and making them feel like they're less than. Why? I don't know how that works. So for me, like if I'm gonna have a show, if it's gonna be my show, and I have control over that, then I want it to be an environment where everyone kind of feels like they belong, because we come here because we don't belong anywhere else, and why would we want to feel unsafe in a place where we came to finally be ourselves. So when I see things like that, and I see someone being aggressive for absolutely no reason, or acting out or treating people in a way that I wouldn't want to be treated, then if I have a chance to control that and remove that person from the situation, then I will.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke a bit about parachutes earlier this year. Just for the sake of the interview, do you want to do a quick recap of what parachutes means?
Yeah, I guess this kind of ties in with having kids and being older and seeing things differently. I started to think about life and how life was a lot like being kind of pushed out of a plane. Like, none of us really asked to be here, but we find ourselves here, and we're all kind of hurtling through space, falling, if you will, to an eventual end. And we have this limited timeline. And so we're kind of careening through, trying to latch on to something and to break our fall a little bit, but eventually we're all going to hit the ground. And that's something that can't be put off or can't be escaped from. And so I started to think about the things that, in my life that made that fall a little less traumatic, and allowed me to kind of take my time and enjoy the journey. And those things, like my family, or like creating art and experiencing other people's art that inspired me. Those things, let me hover a little bit and kind of became my parachute, And so, whereas on the last record, a lot of the songs that I wrote, and I can pinpoint, each one to a specific instance of feeling ill and feeling sick in my stomach and feeling not well, trying to get better through writing those songs. This record, I can pinpoint each one to an instance of feeling like I was kind of enjoying the fall a little bit, and something that brought me love or joy.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of more about I guess what a parachute can be for you, but it also feels like a really personal record. Like, a lot of the songs I felt like were kind of about a legacy, and I don't know if that's kind of my interpretation, but songs like Miss Me, even if that is just being remembered by the people around you.
Yeah.
Is that?
That song is that's a rough one, right? Because, all right, if you truly love the people around you, right, and care for them, you don't ever want them to be sad, But there's a selfish part, at least in me, that knows that I would like them to think of me from time to time. I would like to leave that imprint on them, and although I don't want them to be sad, I'd like them to know that I was here and appreciate it. Maybe appreciate the things that I did while I was here. And I started to think about my grandfather who passed away last year, and how much of a impact he had on me and my life and the person that I became. And there's not a day or second that goes by that I don't think of him, in some way or another. Like, even when it's comes down to something as simple as an interaction with another person, how would he have done that? How would he feel about the way that I did that, or something like that? And I know that I could never live up to be the person that he was, but if I could be thought of 0.1% the way that I think about him, then I think that would be a fantastic legacy to have. So I think a lot of songs do deal with that yearning, to be loved and to be thought of when you're not around. I think I don't know. At least for me, I think that's a universal. Nobody wants to be forgotten.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of human, right? To have that tinge of pride and vanity.
Yeah. Just as the last question, because I think you have to go.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to actually ask you about what you're doing for Halloween, because your birthday is Halloween. But considering that we had a chat about like it being a safe scene and safety at shows, I was wondering if you could explain your aggressive technique that you brought up before.
My aggressive technique?
The one about how to deal with aggression.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my new favorite way to diffuse aggressiveness is when someone, if you feel like someone is being super aggro with you and is kind of getting in your space where you don't want them to be, my weapon of choice would be to say to them, "Oh yeah, why don't you say that into my mouth?" And then you wait for them, and if they do decide to try to say it in your mouth, you kiss them like very passionately, like as passionate as you possibly can. Usually that won't happen. Usually that kind of takes all the wind out of their sails, and they have to really question whether they want to say it again into your mouth, or maybe it wasn't that important, and then you take that time and be like, "I thought so," and then you just walk away. But they will always remember the person that told them to say it into their mouth.
Well, hopefully it becomes something that
I think
people
it should
adopt.
be a thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a thing.
Because here's the thing, like at the end of it, like if they do decide to say it in your mouth and then you kiss passionately, like who can be mad after that? You can't really. I mean, you've already kissed it out.
Wouldn't you be mad that someone has kissed you without your permission?
Well, no, that's the thing. It's not without permission. You have to ask them to say it into your mouth, and then when they do, they've taken
the step already.
Yeah, that's the step.
That's their fault.
They've gone into your mouth. Once they've entered your mouth, you can do whatever you want. I feel like.
Okay, thank you so much for doing the interview today. I hope
My
that
pleasure.
the last show of the tour goes amazing tonight.
So do I.
And good luck for the release.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, that was one of the best pronunciations of my name I think I've heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I was
pretty
actually
good.
so worried about it.
Really?
Yeah.
No, yeah, you did great. Seriously? All right, I get it. Like, a capital I looks like a lowercase L, but why would you not capitalize the last name? Hey, I'm Frank Iero, and you're watching Heavy TV.